Hi there. Most likely this year, you'll have spoken to family, friends, and colleagues remotely via the internet. That is how we've been able to make this podcast. Therefore, it's very likely that you've experienced those amazing audio special effects like compression, lag, and my personal favourite, sounding like a robot. So don't you worry, we've worked very hard and managed to achieve those exact same special effects on this podcast at times, so that we remain on brand with most people's 2020. I hope you enjoy the show.
This is the Lockdown Hotline Sessions with your host, Danielle Lonnon.
Sorry, please answer that.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Lockdown Hotline Sessions with me, your host, Danielle Lonnon. This is the podcast where we put identical questions to all of our guests, that they mix it up, spice it up, and entertain us with their unique take on COVID and lockdown in 2020. Today's special guest is James Tweedy. James is currently studying an MA at LIPA, the Liverpool Institute of Performing Arts. He went to drama school in London many years ago. On stage, he has played Iago in Othello, Sir Toby Belch in Twelfth Night, and Medvedenko in The Seagull. As a co-founder of Able Archer Production Company, he has produced Incompetent Q and Games of the World Russian Roulette. James still dreams of one day playing the Doctor Who, but for the meantime he's honing and learning new theatrical skills at university. James Tweedy, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for dialing in today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm so excited that you're here. So, as you know, we ask identical questions to all of our guests. This is your beginner's call. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Fantastic. Okay, question number 1. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself that perhaps wasn't covered in the introduction?
Ooh, crikey. Well, acting's generally how I sort of define myself. But, other stuff that I've done is work in a lot of restaurants.
Okay.
Anything from sort of family-run restaurants to rather famous restaurants, such as the Oxford Tower on the South Bank in London.
Ooh, classy. Yeah, okay. All right, so question number 2. What is your current location and what is the state of lockdown there?
Right, so I'm currently in Liverpool, and I'm not 100% sure if we're in Tier 2 or Tier 3, and it really doesn't seem to matter to me too much because I'm not going out anyway. I've been going to LIPA for university, I've been going to the supermarket for food, and I've been at home, and that's it. That's all I've really been doing. So I'm not 100% sure what state Liverpool is in. Sorry.
Yeah, right. I think the whole of the UK has possibly just gone into another lockdown in the last 24 hours or something.
Well, London has, yes. London has gone from Tier 2 to Tier 3, which apparently they're not very happy about.
Right. Okay. And my follow-up question to the state of lockdown, is it mandatory for you chaps to wear a mask?
Yeah, certainly going into shops and businesses and such like, you do have to wear a mask.
And is it enforced by law or?
Do you know what? I don't actually know.
Okay.
I just sort of see it more as a common courtesy that we're all going through something that's really quite unknown to us. And wearing a mask is just the best way really of keeping us safe. Better safe than sorry as far as I'm concerned. So,
Absolutely.
Wearing a mask is not a problem to me.
Okay. Question number 3. Are you still in the same location as pre-COVID? And that's in early March this year. And are you still doing the same thing? And when I mean, are you still doing the same thing? If you were a baker in a bakery in early March, are you still a baker in a bakery now in December?
No, everything has completely and utterly changed. So at the start of the pandemic, I was living in Manchester. And I was working 3 jobs. So I was working in Media City in a bar, restaurant, cafe called Social 7. I was working for a pizza restaurant, and I was also a patient, a professional patient for training doctors. And I'm doing none of that now. Everything is completely changed. I moved over to Liverpool in August so that I could go and study at LIPA.
Right.
So everything has definitely changed since then.
Yeah, absolutely. A move across a small train ride.
Yeah, it's a short train ride. It's like a 20-minute train ride. That's it. It's not very far at all.
But 2 completely different cities.
Oh, yeah. There seems to be a bit of a rivalry between Liverpool and Manchester as well, which I think has something to do with football.
Yes, well, I'm a Liverpool football fan. So since COVID-19 and its restrictions started, what do you miss doing that you can't do right now?
I think one of the things that I really miss is going out for a meal with my friends and enjoying that company. Good conversation, good company, good food, good wine, and just having a decent evening out. And of course, that is something that I haven't done since February, really.
Wow,
so I miss that interaction with my friends.
Yeah, and a nice quiet pint on a quiet evening.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Pint of Guinness would be lovely.
Oh, lovely. Are the pubs open at the moment in Liverpool?
I think some of the pubs are open, and you have to have a substantial meal if you're having an alcoholic beverage.
I see.
Which seems to be a Scotch egg, according to the British press.
Right, so it's no 20-person deep at the bar trying to order and, wave your 20 quid note above your head, hoping that the bartender's going to look at you so you can get your pints of beer in.
There's certainly none of that going on at the moment.
I don't know if it'd be a pub if you can't do that. Kind of takes away a little bit of the fun, don't you think? I'm going to move on to question number 5. What do you feel that you have improved at during this time?
A couple of things, really. So at the beginning of lockdown, when I didn't have anything to do and didn't know that I was going to be going to LIPA, I sort of decided that I would try and improve my French. So I improved that a little bit. Not a great deal. I'm certainly not fluent. Yes. There you go. That's about the extent of it. And certainly since I've been at LIPA, we've been introduced to some new aspects of the theatrical world as it is now. There's a lot more technology involved. So I've been teaching myself how to edit on film programs and edit on sound programs. I've been sort of teaching myself how to interview and do podcasts and put little films together. So over this period of time, I would say I've learned quite a bit, certainly more than I was expecting to.
Yes, well, I tell you what, how about I retire and then you can come over and take over on the podcast? You can host it, write it, edit it, master it, upload it. It's you can do the whole shebang.
Well, hey, when we can start flying, I'll just pop over to Sydney and that'll be fine. I can get a bit of sunshine.
Oh, yeah, that thing. Yeah, that's right. You guys don't see that too often around now, do you?
Not really.
No. On the flip side, what have you discovered that you are absolutely rubbish at?
Rather embarrassingly, I have discovered that I cannot grow a beard.
You know what? Nor can I.
Sorry, I'm now imagining you with a beard. It's a scary prospect. Yeah, I mean, I sort of suspected for a long time that I couldn't grow a proper beard anyway. But at the beginning of lockdown, I thought, well, let's go for it. Let's experiment and see how well or how badly it goes. And for about 4 months, I decided to experiment with facial hair, and it looks horrendous. So that's it. One of the things that I definitely cannot do is grow a beard.
I see. Isn't that like in Shakespeare's Twelfth Night that Feste says to Cesario, and by Jove or something, grow thee a beard? Feste knowing that Cesario is really a woman.
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a few sort of insults in Shakespeare for those who can't grow beards. Yeah, a lot by Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing, actually.
Yeah, she does give Benedict quite a bit of stick about that. With everything being topsy-turvy, upside down, back to front, not as we know it, what have you realised that you have become super, super grateful for?
One of the things that springs to mind at the moment is technology. Certainly, I wouldn't be able to do the course that I'm doing now had we not had the technology in place to have classes online, and certainly being able to contact friends and family via Zoom or Teams or whatever form of video calling that we have available to us now. So that's been really quite fantastic. And telephone calls in themselves, that is definitely something to be grateful for.
The internet, yeah, and technology has been a pretty amazing thing. But I guess on the flip side, you also need people to be able to have these conversations with. You could have the most amazing technology, but if you had no friends, then you could be in a little bit of trouble.
Yes. And mental health is something that's quite close to my heart. So there have definitely been some people who have been severely impacted by this and not knowing really where to turn to. And especially if you were not comfortable using technology, then that puts you in one heck of a bind.
Yeah, that's very, very true. I think watching older people of my parents' generation use technology for the first time is quite an interesting experience. And I think they're very grateful that we're around to go, yeah, you press this, you do this, and we just do it without thinking. But, for them who have to log on to government websites or book doctor's appointments via a tablet when they've never used one before could be quite a frustrating experience.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you sort of suffer any sort of anxiety and you're sort of told to use technology, the anxiety starts rising up, but you don't have anybody to turn to because you can't use the technology in order to get in contact with that person. So it's quite a vicious circle.
Yeah. So technology is great, but on the flip side, it's also its own curse.
Yeah.
Now, James, this next question could be very, very embarrassing for you, which I think would mean it could be very, very entertaining for me. So are you ready for this question?
I'm not quite sure I am now. Go on. Right.
What is something that you don't want the rest of the world to know that you may have geeked out at during lockdown? And examples of these could be binge watching a TV show in a whole day, or playing computer games, or perhaps eating a whole packet of Scotch finger biscuits in under 3.5 minutes.
I mean, I think anybody who knows me does realise that I am a bit of a geek, and for moments of geeking out, I would have to say when I realised that Star Trek Discovery had a new series starting, which I was really quite giddy about that. I love the series. I think it's absolutely brilliant. So I've been enjoying that as it comes on every Friday. But I've also been doing a rather geeky Star Trek thing with watching all of the series that have been made so far in chronological order. So I started with Enterprise, then gone to Discovery, from Discovery on to the original series with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, and then going on to the Next Generation, which I'm currently watching at the moment.
That's actually my personal favourite.
Yeah, definitely. Patrick Stewart is just an absolute legend. No, if you want to talk Star Trek, we can turn this podcast into something else if you want. Happy to do that.
Welcome to the Star Trek Hotline Sessions with your host, Danielle Lonnon. Today's guest is Geekazoid, James Tweedy. James will be talking to us in chronological order of every Star Trek episode ever known to man. We can talk about The Next Generation because I love The Next Generation because I think it's Shakespeare in space.
It's incredibly Shakespearean, actually, and especially when you've got Patrick Stewart as his character, Picard, sort of tutoring Data in particular Shakespeare plays. There's a famous scene where he comes on as Henry V.
Yes.
Picard's tutoring them all about that. Yeah, there's some brilliant stuff there. There seems to be a lot of arguments between Star Trek and Star Wars,
right?
Which I don't get. I hugely appreciate all of them. And of course, what they're doing with the Star Wars world at the moment, there's some very interesting stuff going on there. Mandalorian has been incredibly successful. Looking forward to seeing the second series of that when I get the opportunity. So, yeah, I suppose with any spare time that I have, I've just been watching a lot of sci-fi. But I think anybody who knows me would not be surprised by that at all. It's certainly no secret.
Now, I have to admit, I'm so sorry. I interrupted you because I do like Star Trek. We got to Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and what was the next series? Because I'd actually like to know, just for the pub trivia.
Voyager.
Okay.
I mean, Deep Space Nine and Voyager were sort of released at a very similar time.
Okay. Well, you never know when these little tidbits will come in handy in a pub trivia night, so it's always good to know.
And then you've got Picard after that.
Oh, yes. I haven't actually seen that, but I'd really like to go and see that. Have you seen it?
I have seen it, and again, thoroughly enjoyed it.
Wow.
Sort of looking at Picard in his later years and the sort of adventures he goes on then. And the Romulans are involved, which is always interesting when the Romulans get involved in any of the stories in Star Trek. So I have also been enjoying that. There's something logical about it.
Thank you, Spock.
Fascinating.
Okay, well, we have really geeked out during lockdown. That was possibly very cool or possibly very embarrassing, depending on how you want to look at it.
No, it could never be embarrassing.
Yeah. You know what I'm just thinking? I'm thinking of the original series with William Shatner and all of the technology that, they thought was very future tech. We look back at it and go, yeah, it's a bit old school. But actually, everything that is almost in that series is what we use today. The Apple iPad, the Bluetooth earphones, like Lieutenant Uhura's earpiece, and squishy doors. Without Star Trek and all those computer geeks watching that fantastic show, maybe we wouldn't have Apple iPads or Bluetooth earphones or any of those kind of things if it wasn't for Star Trek.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a documentary which I think is called How William Shatner Changed the World. And it's basically looking back at the technology that has come or that has been inspired by Star Trek. So you've got the intercom that Shatner uses all the time. And there was a gentleman who sort of watched it and went, that would be brilliant to have like a telephone conversation, but no wires. And he went on to invent the mobile telephone, I think. There's lots of other sort of things from that show where people have just gone, why don't we have that? And again, I'm still waiting for transporter technology.
So am I personally. So am I. It would just make jet lag obsolete. Cha-ching!
Yeah.
But would you be reassembled all in one piece?
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah, I'd hope so too.
You don't want a situation like The Fly coming about. That would be a little bit horrific.
No, that's very true too. I'm going to move on to question number 9.
Mm-hmm.
You're about to become a famous classical actor, but before that, a soap opera has contacted you and offered you a lead role. What type of character are you hoping that they're going to write for you, considering soaps are just a little bit more dramatic than real life?
Right.
Besides a captain.
I don't really watch soap operas. I would say, yeah, exactly. Captain of the Starship Enterprise is where we're going, but I don't think there's going to be any Federation ships landing in Coronation Street. That would be a brilliant crossover, though, wouldn't it?
Actually, that'd be quite good. I'd watch that.
Back in time.
Yeah.
Picard goes into the pub. I don't even know what it's called, and somebody's probably shouting at the radio going...
The Rovers.
Well, there you go, see?
Actually, that could be a good thing, because I think Ian McKellen also had a guest appearance on Corrie because he was a big fan. So you've had Ian McKellen, and then you could have Patrick Stewart, and that would make me very happy.
Yes, a sort of the unification of Waiting for Godot or Magneto and Charles Xavier.
Yeah, exactly. And because it's a soap, it's plausible.
Yeah, absolutely. So in that case, I want to be a starship captain on Coronation Street. How does that go?
Right. Well, we'll just write to ITV and see what they can do for you.
or the Archers. I mean, I could be on the Archers.
Ooh, now that is one of my favorites. Now, I'm very happy to turn this podcast into an Archers podcast. So pray continue. What would you like to be in the Archers?
Playing a baddie, I would imagine. I enjoy playing baddies, though. They're so much more fun. Again, just sort of some evil, nefarious land developer who's wanted to come in and destroy everybody's little routine. Or I could be part of the Amateur Dramatic Society.
Yes.
I don't know. Doing the annual Christmas show.
I'm actually looking forward to that. The annual Christmas Archers show is always something very special because it is theatricality gone wrong. And what makes it funny is it's professional actors pretending not to be actors, pretending to muck everything up, which makes it even funnier because they've actually got to do it very straight-laced. Well, James, sadly, that is the end of the questions. But just before we conclude the interview, sometime in the future, your agent rings you and says, congratulations, you've got the gig. You are going to be the next Doctor Who.
Ooh.
But more importantly, the production team want to know, who do you want to cast as your companion?
Ooh, crikey, I get a choice. Right. That's a hell of a burden. Who would you want as your companion? I don't know. There are so many fantastic actors that I'd love to work with. Ben Whishaw sort of springs to mind.
Oh, he'd be good. He'd be really good.
In fact, I think he'd probably be a better doctor than me, thinking about it. No, not Ben Whishaw. He's too good. He's too good. I can't have him.
Okay. Judi Dench?
Oh, no, but Judi Dench. No, she'd be fantastic.
She'd be really good.
She'd be fantastic. In fact, you know what? Let's get Judi Dench, Patrick Stewart, and Ian McKellen.
Yeah.
As the companions.
Like they're shapeshifters?
No, just them. They're brilliant enough as they are.
Well, this is very, very true. Actually, I think if you had them as the companion, it would be the highest rating show in the history of the world. Oh, I like Doctor Who, but I think I'd enjoy this even more so. But are you going to be upstaged by the companions? Is that a good thing?
They probably would upstage me. Well, not just outshine me, I think.
Okay.
But what a learning experience that would be, working with actors like that. You kind of would want to just sit back and go, just let me learn everything I can from you.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, wow, that would be a cracking Doctor Who. And the Christmas special would be absolutely amazing as well.
Oh, yeah, because they just get all of their friends to come in and be in the Christmas special.
Exactly. You see Kenneth Branagh running across the back as an extra.
Yeah, absolutely. Get Michael Sheen in there as well.
Yes.
Get David Tennant to come back as the Doctor.
Oh, that could be so much fun. Then you could have Maggie Smith on there as well.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
The opportunities could be endless. Endless. James, also, I want to thank you for being the brilliant voiceover chap at the start of this podcast. A couple of people have said, right, who's the voiceover artist? It's James Tweedy. So that's why we put you on the podcast as well, so people get to know you. So thank you very much for doing that lovely voiceover at the start. All of that classical training gone to good use.
Well, yeah, I thought I recognised that voice. Yes, it's me, isn't it?
Indeed, indeed. Well, if you'd like to follow James on social media, he's on Twitter and Instagram at Sir Tweedy. James's links will be listed in the show's description below. James Tweedy, I'm a big fan and I want to wish you every success. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Lockdown Hotline Sessions. Thank you also for being the male voiceover in the intro.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Not a problem. Well, as we come to the end of another episode of the Lockdown Hotline Sessions, my name is Danielle Lonnon and you can find me on all the socials at DameDivaDan. Until next time, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe and be kind. Ciao. Lockdown Hotline Sessions was recorded and produced in Sydney in December of 2020.